Hi everyone, I'm Laura and I'd like to welcome you to Transforming Health, brought to you by Johnson & Johnson. In this series, we'll explore some of today's biggest challenges in getting new and innovative medicines to patients. We'll look at why these challenges exist and what's being done to overcome them. And we'll do so with experts who work in this space every day. Today, I'm joined by Véronique Schmidt from J&J France. Welcome, Véronique.
Hello, Laura. Thank you for having me today. I'm really pleased to be there.
It's great to see you. So, Véronique, quick grounding from me. For people living with rare diseases or more common but devastating conditions such as cancer, the time it takes to begin treatment is critical, right? So any delays to treatment can have an impact on health outcomes and disease progression. And for some conditions, diagnosis happens with few or no treatment options available at all. The time it takes for new, potentially life-saving medicine to go through the review and approval process, called marketing authorization, may prevent these patients from receiving treatment. And this is a well-known issue in the healthcare community, which is why the EU and national regulations allow early access programs that aim to make treatments available before marketing authorization under specific conditions. So my first question for you, Véronique, can you briefly explain how marketing authorization and early access programs work in a region like Europe?
Yeah, so if we look at the big picture and we start thinking about and talking about the assessment of a marketing authorization application named MAA, this is clearly a regulatory process that ensures that the medicine we provide to the patient are safe and of good quality. And we hope to do that for the majority of the citizens who need them. So in the European Union, the marketing authorization is granted by a centralized process through the EMEA, which is the European Medicines Agency, where the marketing authorization is given and valid for all the countries, or also a mechanism of mutual recognition procedures with European Medicine Agency coordinates. So this is really important, and this process has been made in place since now several decades, because before it was a centralized process in each country. And the marketing authorization process occurred in the European level, and the pricing and reimbursement process occurs at the country levels. By the way, just to make a comment on that as well, now you probably heard about that with the European Commission and the EMEA. They are working on a potential process, which is EU HTA, which means that the first evaluation would be also done by EMEA. But this is really a process ongoing, and this is not the topic for today, but just let's know that it's important. If we come back to the price and reimbursement, and finally the timings between we have the drug in our hands and we have the approval from EMEA and the time it is on the market, the EFPA, which is a pharma association in Europe, created barometers, and what we see is that the average between the starting of the process and the drug on the market is, and especially in France, is more than 500 days for a medicine, which is, as you can count, almost 2 years, which is
a long
long.
time.
It's a long time. It's too long, that's for sure. And why is that? Because first of all, this marketing authorization application process can take 1 year. And then this is the beginning of the process of pricing and reimbursement in the countries. So this is really the system we have globally in Europe. And as you mentioned, we have the opportunity in France to have the early access program, a specific one, which is a specificity of France.
So a product might be ready to go, but unless there's an early access program, patients who might not have other options would have to wait maybe a year to be able to start using the product. Is that right?
Yes, and even more sometimes. Like, for example, in Germany, they can launch as soon as the EMEA approval has been given, which is
Right.
not the case of France, if I'm talking about specifically France.
Okay.
So that's why in certain countries, you can also have what they call early access program. But let me explain now what is early access program and what is the specificity of France, because France is always special, always different.
Let's hear it.
So France has one of the most advanced, I would say, program in Europe, which is called, and we will call it accès précoce to avoid any confusion. And that's a conclusion we end up, because early access program is a broad program that can be used in different countries with specificities. But in France, it is really a unique system called accès précoce, which is not linked to marketing authorization.
Got it. Okay.
And yeah, and we can really, with this system, accelerate the time we can have the drug on the market. And in the best case, having the new molecules and or innovation on the market until 2 years before marketing authorization.
Wow.
So that's a great opportunity. And to be honest, this is not a new process. This process has evolved. And if we look back, the first accès précoce was called ATU, which means temporary authorization for use of the drug, which began in the 90s at the time of AIDS. With the patient association, they were very vocal, and this is really when it started for France.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and then from years over years, the system has evaluated, and to make sure we can have more molecule on the market as soon as possible, and also that we can have indication extension for other disease for the same molecule, which was at the end of the day a system that was really very administrative, became really complex and also unpredictable. And then when President Macron was elected in 2017, he had a will, to be honest, a political will, I would say. And really what he wanted is that all the patients can get the drug as soon as possible, and with a simple and more perceivable system. So for the first time ever, we went through a kind of co-construction between pharma and the Pharma Association and Ministry of Health. And the idea was really to sit around the table, all the stakeholders, I would say, so the Pharma Association and the Ministry of Health, to first of all make an analysis of the current system, making sure we align on what could be improved and what could be done differently, and to work together. And that was in a way very disruptive, because that was really a co-constructive process that we have. And that was also the new way President Macron wanted people to work in France. So that was, and I had the opportunity at the time to be involved in that process. That's really after more than 1 year of work altogether, we were able in July 2021 to have this accès précoce reform come into effect.
Can you tell me what the criteria are in order to qualify for accès précoce?
Yes, sure. And it's important to have that in mind. And because there are 5 criteria, and 4 of them are evaluated by HES, and 1 of them is evaluated by INSM, the regulatory body. So the one for INSM is the what I call benefit risk ratio, which is efficacy and safety of the innovative product. And this is based on the results of the clinical trial. And it is very important. And safety is also a very important point, because the NSM make really sure that would not be a problem for the patient. And then the 4 other criteria evaluated by the HES are the severity of the disease and its debilitating nature, the fact that there is no appropriate treatment currently on the French market, the fact that also the prescription of this medicine cannot be delayed, and last but not least, and this is also a very important criteria, the last one is the treatment is presumed to be innovative.
Okay.
And if maybe I may, I could add something that is interesting, because it is a process. So there is a decree that explains exactly what is the process. But around the second criteria about no appropriate treatment, it is interesting to see that at the beginning of the process in 2021, on this criteria, we didn't know how they would do with like 2 molecules in the same indication, but that have not been able to compare themselves because they are co-developed at the same time. Okay?
Got it.
At the time in 2021, and we had the experience in G&G, they were quite open to give a okay to the 2 molecules being on the market at the same time, or almost at the same time, let's say the same year. Now what we see, and this is the tendency, we had an analysis on that, is that they are being more and more strict on that criteria. And they are now very often not giving a yes to go for accès précoce for a molecule arriving on the market even few months after.
So it sounds like some medicines won't qualify as innovative enough, or they won't meet the criteria that you just outlined for accès précoce. What impact have? Do you think it could incentivize more innovation?
Yes, it could have an impact to incentivize innovation. That's for sure, because it is really possible that the need to meet innovation threshold will incentivize researchers and drug developers to take a bigger step forward in new treatment solutions, and to make sure that rare disease, even ultra-rare disease, have a solution. So now I would say the researcher, the drug developers, the pharmas, they are really incentivized to go through innovation.
Got it. And what else has changed under the new accès précoce system, Veronique? For example, how long does it really take to get approval for an early access in France at the moment?
So in the moment, and the idea is really to be fast. So HES made a lot of efforts to make sure as soon as she has, HES has the dossier accès précoce in their hand, they can assess very quickly. So what we've seen in the 2 last years is 3 months, generally speaking, between the time the dossier has been submitted to the time HES can give our final evaluation. and decision, which is really good. The thing is that more and more molecules now are going to this process, and the delay tends to be a little bit longer, and now it is more 4 months than 3 months. But they are, I mean, this is the this is the success that they have with this new system.
Yeah, they're the victims of their own success, I guess.
Exactly.
So the French health authority have really committed to move quickly on this. I mean, 3 months is speedy for these types of national level decisions. But it sounds like it's quite an iterative process. Is that true?
Yes, it is. It is true, and what we see is that everybody, the pharmas, the physician, the health authorities, and the HES is really committed to have the product on the market as early as possible. But that's for sure that we all also had to evaluate, because along the way, with the experience of this new process, some pain points came, I would say. And just an example, I would not go into many details because it would become to be too specific, but we had a lot of discussion on accès précoce with immature data. What I mean by that, with phase 1-2 data and no phase 3 data ready yet. And honestly, this situation was not covered by the law. So we had a lot of discussion again, all the key stakeholders involved in the process, and we were leading this because we had the situation with several molecules we worked on. And this took some time, but had an happy end, I would say, with a new law on this exceptional funding and on this type of situation, which is really good, and which is really good for the patient, because even if the process tried to be as clear as possible, along the way, we can face different situations we were not able to take into consideration. We sit down with all the stakeholders and try to find some solution together to make sure we have on our innovation on the market and for the patient.
Yeah, that's really interesting and great that the government and the healthcare authority are maintaining that dialogue with the stakeholders who initially help to design the change. And are there any other implications around this evolving process?
Yes, we could see some other implication, and you remember we talked about the 5 criteria that we have to meet to have a go for accès précoce, and I talked about one, which is no appropriate treatment. What we see is that this seems to be more and more strict on accès précoce, because if we look at the numbers at the beginning of the implementation in 2021, we had around 20% of refusal on all accès précoce. If we look at now the picture in 2024, we observe that 40% of the dossier have also refusal, which is a little bit worrying, I would say. And this is most of the time linked to this criteria of no appropriate treatment on the market. And as you asked me earlier on, I think that's for sure that this is something that incentivizes pharma company to make sure we always go further with innovation, and that we are truly innovate to really find the right drug for the patient who cannot benefit so far.
Got it. And when you're talking about refusals, Veronique, these are companies who've applied for accès précoce for a specific product that then don't get it. So in that case, did they just have to wait for their marketing authorization to come through? And some of the patients might therefore be waiting longer as well.
Absolutely, that's exactly that. And the thing is that when I say refusal, this is negative, but refusal, not refusal of the drug, but refusal at this point of time of accès précoce for this molecule, which doesn't mean refusal to have the molecule on the market. And we have a recent example as well, where we see a drug that had two refusals. Because there were already another one in accès précoce on the market. And she's just been evaluated, and it gets ASMR 4, which means it's minor innovation, but still it is innovation. You know, so the no-go for accès précoce doesn't mean that the drug is not innovative. It means that in this specific indication, there is already a solution in place because of an accès précoce.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, Veronique, if I understand correctly, one of the implications of the accès précoce program is that patients in France are using products before other countries in Europe or potentially in the world. And does that have implications in terms of the data that's being generated and the real world evidence, what we can take and learn about these products?
Yes, that's a very important topic, Laura. You touch really, as an example, one of the area we are collectively working on is data collection. That's for sure. This is a specific mechanism that is in place for early access. But still there is a lot of improvement that could be set up. Specifically also helping the physician in hospital to set up the right process, to also spend some time, because the data collection means spending times, and that's for sure we need to help them doing that, because that takes time, and we know that in hospital physicians, nurses, and all people working for the patient are already overworked, I would say, and with a really important workload. So this is really a good point and an important topic that we are trying also to solve together.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot that the rest of Europe could learn from the way that this is working in France.
Hopefully, and we also are here to share our experience and to also collect any idea that could help us also to improve again and again this system to make sure the patients have our molecules the sooner, the better.
And maybe last question for you, Veronique. What are your expectations for the future of innovation in rare, serious, and debilitating disease?
So my expectation is really that we continue to work on those diseases, because there are no or few options at the moment, and that's really our mission, to serve patients and to make sure we can have those molecules on the market and for the patient, and that's not easy. And that's not easy also because we are talking about also a new business model in terms of rare disease, with a lot of question, specifically on the evaluation, because sometimes you have the benefit of the drug that you cannot measure right away, but that you have to wait months, sometimes years also, to see the benefit of the treatment. So this means different ways of thinking, in terms of evaluation, in terms of pricing, and again, and that could be the next topic, to sit down all together, all the stakeholders, and to work together for the patients.
Which feels like a really nice note to end on,
Yes.
Veronique. So I just wanted to say a big thank you for talking to me today. I've learned a lot, and I hope our listeners have too.
Yeah, that's the same. Thank you very much for having me today, and have a good weekend.
Thank you.